Demonstrate that it's automatic. I understand English numbers better than Korean, so I'm really terrible with the large digits, especially more than 8 digits in English. In Korean, I barely actually read this type of numbers fast. Let me actually demonstrate that. I don't really need to think twice about it. I've never watched what's happening on MSNBC today, so let me actually turn it off. This is not stunt, because this is a live stream. I have no control over whatsoever that it's taking place on that channel. I'm not really that almighty person. To see.
50% of Trump supporters think the election was rigged. That also means 50% of Trump supporters do not believe the election was rigged. So add that to all those that already are disaffected from Donald Trump. And suddenly we're talking about a minority of Americans.
You know, Joe, that's completely correct. Virginia, I wanted to get you to expand a little further on the thread you just started to pull. Some worried Democrats have said to me over the last 4 years that they're concerned that President Trump, this sort of charismatic figure who managed to thread the needle in the Electoral College, despite, of course, as we know, the popular vote defeats. Once he got into office, though, he was sort of ineffective at governing. He could have done more, they believe, to sort of damage the democracy and the fabric and the institutions of this country than he already has. And certainly there has been plenty of damage, and they fear that there would be perhaps another figure who could rise down the road, who would be, who could have the same sort of populist streak, populist nationalist streak, but be better at being president than Donald Trump was. That Trump might actually almost be the John the Baptist figure, and someone more powerful may come down the road. But I want to get your take on that, because isn't part of what made Trump such a singular figure was the celebrity, was the charisma, was his ability to fill these rally halls with thousands upon thousands of people. That's a very hard combination to come up with. I just want to kind of get your take as to whether you think we could see another figure like this, whether it's 4, 8, or 12 years down the road.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great question. I really am increasingly convinced that this was a lightning in a bottle situation, that there's not going to be that Don Jr., it's just hard to imagine who could do this again. And, there've been a lot of talk among cult experts about what Trumpism is and why people believe it. And those cult experts say that cults do not survive the death of their leader. And even kind of, the crime rings don't survive the death of their leader or the exile of their leader. And I think that's what we'll see happening here. It'll be another Keith Raniere or honestly, like another Jeffrey Epstein, that, once he's gone, it's gone. At least that's my hope and my perception of what's going to happen.
So it's very easy to understand that. That means the 50% of the Donald Trump's voters probably not actually really believe that this election was rigged. That means they were actually still supporting Donald Trump, but they would not necessarily buy this conspiracy theory that election results were faked. There could be legitimacy in it. But now it's really about the future of the Trumpism. It's a very, there could be, certain different magnetic figure who could have replaced the power of Donald Trump. Because there could be certain thoughts amongst the people who once, bought the idealism propelled by Donald Trump, who would actually think in this way in the future. Oh, Donald Trump could have done much more. Donald Trump, should have done better than this when he was given a power. Like, this kind of frustration could have come out, and amid this type of mixed messages coming from Trumpism and the realistic challenges imposed on them, maybe there could be another cult figure who would mesmerize very frustrated Trump followers. This could be possible, but it's a very difficult, this type of combination. Very, magnetic influence caused by the TV celebrity and his long-time reputation as a developer. And there was indeed, extra factors like the popularity of his reality show. So who would actually have this kind of magic concoction? That's really the issue. It's a very difficult to imagine somebody who would actually have this perfect combination to emulate Donald Trump's achievement. And this is really kind of, the very message of Virginia mentioned at the very beginning of this, discussion at the poll. That was what she said, but this guy, whose name I never heard, he actually wanted to bring up this mention to question the future directions of Trumpism. And Virginia really believes that, she really hopes to witness the demise of Trumpism, because, there was a famous saying, like, once the head of the cult is gone or dead, there is no future for them. This type of, belief group, once the head is exiled or no longer in power, then there is no future in it. It's really the be-all and end-all goal, which was actually holding on to power, and now their cult head their iconic figure is being dethroned and thrown under a bus in the system, and there is no future. It's really like, Jeffrey Epstein or any other different figures who actually experience a significant demise they would never make come back. Then, the whole group and affiliations somehow orbiting around the actual social hobnob as satellites or affiliated groups, they're going to eventually face a serious disintegration. They lost their lodestone. That means there will be no guideline, no leader who could bring them all together under the same overarching umbrella. Because their iconic star is no longer more than what it could have been thought before. This is really a wet blanket on their fever, and there is no more fuel that could have powered this group through. Then eventually the end result is very gloomy. That's normally the historical event that had taken place before. If you ever look into similar cases, there are many different precedents which actually suggest the demise of this type of cult. Whatever type of fever group, they would have once upon a time be very much enthused about the possibility of having their leader in power, and that unbelievable scenario was written, but the end consequences are really shameful. And now its leader is dethroned. Then what else can it be done? This is really the end. She really hopes that this would be the case. She adds that, I really like to see this result for sure: the demise of Trumpism and the disintegration of the Trumpian coherence. She says that. But one thing for sure, it's very tough to imagine any person who might immediately replace Donald Trump, because he actually, has such an magical, surrealistic charisma, boosted by his popularity from the TV reality show, and everything. His wealth and fame and reputation and stardom, everything played a certain role to create this, iconic persona to overwhelm so many people. And now, not really now, for several years, he has also created very distinctive culture in the Republican Party to overwhelm normally estranged blue-collar workers. Many of the factors could be the reason why this was possible, but he was definitely playing the race card to at least strengthen his fidelity to the very frustrated white blue-collar workers. Yeah, indeed. Those people, they were technically losers of globalization. They were very much hopped up over Donald Trump's heart-to-heart conversations, right? They thanked President Donald Trump for a while. I don't really think, I've never even watched this. This is my first time. I had no idea what Joe Scarborough would actually say when I turned this on, because I'm not that kind of an almighty God who can actually, literally have a power over it. What would have come out of this moderator? How would I ever do that? Excuse me, unless if I ever actually have a genuine power to understand what's happening. Excuse me, are you actually a lunatic conspiracist? How would you even actually claim that? I actually faked this situation. Excuse me, I can understand most of them, and they're not that difficult at all. Eventually, there would have been, in retrospect, a certain type of people who were so disappointed to think that, there could have been a better figure who actually would be able to do something, there could be. But it's quite difficult to see a media replacement for Donald Trump. And eventually there will be. And this is really the downfall and the decline of President Donald Trump. The rise and the fall of Donald Trump, if you look into his biograph, if this is really the very demise and the fall down of Donald Trump empire, there could be some other folks who could actually have everyone mesmerized and enthralled under their charm. It's possible. Well, one thing for sure, what Donald Trump had done would be so unusual and exceptional in its own sense, because this type of cultural settings are not for anybody else. Because not everyone can enjoy this privileged circumstance that eventually gained traction in combination with the fallout from globalization. There are multiple factors that actually somehow jump into this equation to amplify and amp up the final result. That eventually catapulted Donald Trump to a mass cult figure, right? That was the beginning of Trumpism. But people actually say, oh, President could have done much more. Think about it. When he was in the White House, he could have actually, persuaded a greater amount of people. Yeah, there could be in retrospect certain frustrated folks who were genuinely let down by Donald Trump's oddity. It could be true, but it's just still very difficult to imagine there would be a substitute for him who could actually bring out this MAGA side syndrome. Like, that's what it is about, for sure.